So I buy all these, I think they probably were Rollerblade brand or some other brand. Throw them on all these guys, and we had, I think it was Kevin Zacher was our photographer at the time. We go down and do this shoot. All right, they're all rollerblading around having fun. We get them all lined up and get the shot, and Travis Parker jumps in the air and does like a little back scratcher. And that's our ad, 2-page spread. It's the whole team, can't hide from the truth. Hey, this is Kevin English, and you are listening to the Not Snowboarding Podcast.
Welcome to the Not Snowboarding Podcast, episode 30. I'm your host, Nate Mousson. Before we get into today's episode with Kevin English, the CEO at Windells and High Cascade, a quick word from our sponsors. Well, I don't want to get into like a formal ad read here, but many of you know, especially if you've listened to past episodes, that I run a snowboard boot insole company called Shred Soles. We're doing a promotion for the podcast audience this month. You can use discount code, the letters TNSP, during checkout, and you'll get free shipping and 10% off your order. Little background on Shred Soles. They are the only snowboarding-specific insoles. They're canted to help realign your ankles, knees, and hips to a more natural and balanced riding posture. And most importantly, they're super comfortable. So again, use the discount code TNSP for the month of October and get 10% off and free shipping. Pretty much everyone shops on Amazon nowadays, right? If you haven't listened to the episode about online shopping and snowboard retail as a business with Adam Gherkin from Snowboard Connection, I think it was episode number 20 or so, you should go back and check it out. Anyways, I guess that's like a bit of an aside, but it was just that in that episode we talked about Amazon quite a good bit. So back on task here. One of the ways that you can help support the podcast is to bookmark the Amazon banner ad at the Not Snowboarding Podcast website. Then before you go on to Amazon to go shopping to buy whatever you're going to buy anyways, just click through that link first. It doesn't cost you anything, and it kicks us a small commission that helps with all the hosting and hardware that we've invested in the podcast so far. Huge thank you to everyone that's been doing that. Okay, let's get into today's episode with Kevin English. I know that this is a much anticipated episode, as there are currently rumors floating around as to how Windells and High Cascade will be structured moving forwards, which we get into towards the tail end of the episode. Let's jump into the conversation that AJ and I had with Kevin.
We have a sales and marketing office here in Portland, and we staff this thing September through May, and that's where we're working to get all the registrations for our summer camps. And then in the wintertime, we still have the Windells Academy going, so we have another staff of 10 to 15 up there with the students that are up there. So in the wintertime, we kind of bounce between Windells and down here in Portland. And summertime, June through August, we are up at the mountain. We're at Mount Hood.
So is this office not in use in the summer? Or are you like...
Yeah, in the summer, this thing is empty. This summer,
oh, really? Okay.
Let John Stark use it for his Rendered Useless project. He was sitting here editing all summer long.
Really?
So just because, he used to do all the videos for High Cascade, and he's a friend, and it's great to have somebody around taking the trash out once in a while and making sure there aren't any vagrants taking it over. So yeah, he held it down here over the summer, and it was nice. Helped him out and kept the place somewhat occupied.
So is that like how you sponsored that video then? Is that like... That
was part of it.
Okay.
We also let him use one of our vans to drive around for the wintertime.
Oh, okay.
So you'll see some shots I saw of some dudes getting towed in with a High Cascade snowboard camp 15-passenger van. So, yeah, it was cool just to support a friend's project, and I think it's going to be a really great project.
Well, now that Banshee Bungee&nbsp out of business, I guess.
Wait, what? Breaking news to me. They went out of business?
I believe so. Is that not... Am I just talking broccoli right now?
No, I just missed it, I guess.
I thought maybe they're not. Banshee Bungee, please don't hate me if you guys are still making it.
But Banshee Bungee, watch out, because there's Ford E350 16-passenger vans. They're moving in on that.
I've used some cars to be towed in and stuff like that before, so,
Yeah. Before bungee technology.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I was kind of wondering where you were, because I did some internet stalking of you, right? I looked on your LinkedIn profile, and it looks like you I mean, you do like so many things. You could maybe have 10 offices. I didn't know. So I kind of wanted to get into some of that today. It was fascinating to me because you have this, from what I can discern from the internet, you have this background in construction and development, and I'm wondering, how does all of that merge with the snowboard world, and where did it get its start? How much time? I'm throwing out a lot of questions here, but how much time are you able to allocate, on the snowboard side versus the construction and development side? Maybe a good spot to start would be to back up and tell me, when did you first get into construction or development? What did that start for you? What age? What did it look like?
So I grew up on Donner Summit, like up in the sticks, and my dad was a contractor, so he would, build other people's homes, and my mom was a real estate agent. They had a couple really good years there, and I would, go to job sites. So I'd get home from school at 3:00 and go over to the job site and pick up scraps and whatever other, crappy job my dad had for me. And as I got older, started working saws and framing. And, my dad just loved the craft of building. He studied architecture. He designed and built the house that I grew up in, which he still lives in, up on the summit. And I was, growing up with him, he was always the kind of guy that just said, put your head down and work hard. And he didn't necessarily put time into thinking about how to work smarter. And because I was doing his crappy jobs for him, I was always trying to think, of course, like, how do you do this faster? How do you do it more efficiently?
That makes for sorry to interrupt. That makes for a great relationship with your father in your teenage years, by the way. For you trying to tell him how to do it better. I'm sure you never butted heads.
Oh, yeah. You don't know what you're talking about.
Totally. Well, one summer, for example, I think I was 14 or 15, and he was building this house by a lake up there, and there were all these deck piers that had to get dug. And these deck piers were 3-foot cubes, 3 feet down, 3 wide, 3 across. And I was like, man, why don't you just get an excavator to do this, and we'll, form it up and pour concrete. And he's like, you are my excavator. So, that's just, that's how he thought. And then I would say, well, Dad, why don't you go get another job started and I'll keep this one going. I'm like 15, like thinking I could run a job site or something. But he's like, Kevin, I don't like doing that. I think he just saw, when you manage people, there's always an issue because we're emotional beings. There's always, somebody showing up late for work, somebody, all this stuff. He didn't want to deal with it. He liked swinging the hammer. And the older I get, the more I respect that. He loves the craft of it, and he's very proud of what he's built, and he's left a legacy. So anyways, that's what gave me that experience, interest in that. And then as I was snowboarding, I started snowboarding at 12, but I always thought, all right, of course I want to be a pro snowboarder, but I knew something was going to have to come after. I always thought, I'm going to be a land developer. I love that. It's like, it's art, it's creation, you're creating spaces. You got this idea in your head, you work with an architect, design it, and then you go through all the process of building it. And then at the end, people walk through that art. They walk through and they interact. And so that was always what, excited me about that. But snowboarding got in the way of that. My life went in a different direction. So I did have a brief stint from 2008 to, 2012 where I did leave the camp business for a little bit, and I went out and, built some single family homes with some partners. And then my last project,
you really know how to time the market for that stuff, huh?
Yeah, we built in end of 2009, sold in 10, and that was bottom of the market. But I thought, if we can make it work right now, then when the market picks up, it's going to be no brainer, right? And it actually worked. It was, it's kind of scary because you owe lots of money to people. Like, I don't have the money to build that. I have to borrow that, right? So you better sell that thing because it's costing you, thousands a month. I think at one point on this house, it was like, all right, it's $10,000 a month for this house. If we don't sell that, we're screwed. So anyways, you're a little scared. So then I was like, apartment building. That's what I want to do. So I built an apartment building. And that was the last project I did before I came back to camp. And that's actually a lot more sleep at night. It's not a spec home. You're not building something hoping that somebody's going to come buy it. It's an apartment that you own long term. Because that was the other thing. My dad didn't have some retirement, so he went out and bought up like a duplex, a triplex, and I grew up. We'd sleep on the floor in those places in our sleeping bags, and wake up and start painting the room that you're sleeping in and cleaning the bathrooms from tenants and making it happen. So I learned that from him, that real estate's a good investment. So
it's so interesting your different business styles, because I have lots of friends that are contractors, and I've even when I was working at the skateboard shop myself, I would work with them on my days off lots of times. And one recurring theme was that you have these guys like your dad that were just amazing at what they do. Some of the best framers, some of guys that were just amazing, could work circles around me out here doing part-time stuff, but they weren't able to scale. Either they were poor business skills, poor communication, or they didn't want to scale. A lot of them had this this mantra of, hey, you're either the little guy, and that can work really well. They make more than enough money for their families and they do their thing and they're happy. Or you're the big guy, and there's not this middle ground. And that's kind of what I'm hearing with you. You grew up with a very family-centric business, and then you took it the other direction. You said, no, we can really scale this, do this better. Let's do huge projects. Let's do apartment buildings. Let's do land. So it's pretty interesting. I'm wondering where because it's a big jump from, just being the one or two folks on a job to running multiple jobs. Where did you get the business acumen for that?
Well, I'll say that came from camp, to be honest. I started at High Cascade in the summer of '99 as a counselor, worked my way up, did a bunch of different things. And then in 2003, Steve Van Doren, we were owned by Vans at the time, and Steve Van Doren hired me to run that business. And I had just spent 2 years at K2 as team manager there back in the robot food days with Travis Parker and those guys. And I learned a ton of stuff about business at K2. That's a big company. Quick sidebar on that. My roommate was Blue Montgomery at the time. And he was actually the team manager at K2, 2 team managers before me. And he was like, you know what? Absorb everything you can about business from K2. And there's going to be some things that you don't like about how they run their business and some things that are invaluable. And he's like, I couldn't have started Capita without working there, Okay. And so that was my first window into, how a really solid business operates. And K2 is a very solid business that I have tremendous respect for those guys. I did learn so much, and I applied so much of that to what we were doing at High Cascade.
What is the top takeaway from K2? Structure, hierarchy, and hierarchy not in like a power sense, but more in like a communication sense. Everybody has a role, and they need to understand what their role is. I've had, some friends in snowboarding start businesses, and I'm blown away that they don't even really know what their role is. They all just kind of work on different things. And I don't know how an organization operates that way. So I learned that. And honestly, dumb little things like, how do we process all of the expenses that we have? Well, all right, we have little receipt forms and we class out the expenses certain ways, like dumb little things like that. But it's really important in a business to track those, track your expenses very well. That's a management tool for you. So I don't know, from the larger perspective, the organizational perspective, all the way down to little details. When I was team manager there, they kind of went under a change at the time. It was this guy, Robert Markovich, who had kind of brought Ride. He was CEO of Ride at one time, and then he came in to be CEO of K2 Sports, which owns Ride and K2. And he came in and he fired my boss, and he fired my boss's boss, and like all these other people just got hacked. And there was only 2 people left in the marketing department. It was myself and this girl, Jin Yang. And we're like, whoa, what's going on? And he was really nice, took me under his wing, and it was like, hey, sometimes when you have a change, you need to understand who's going to be on board with that change after you've explained it to them.
and who's not. And if they're not on board, then that's all right. We can part our ways, and we set them up with a little package, and they take off. And so, that was another little tidbit. I mean, our company, we just underwent a merger this last year, and you're trying to get two different cultures, the High Cascade culture and the Windells culture to mesh. At one point they have to become a culture of the new company, and you respectfully have to understand where people are coming from and apply best practices from both businesses. And to me, best practice wins, but there are some people that are just always going to be resistant to a change of any sort, and at that point it's better for them and it's better for the company if that person leaves, and that's okay. We can still be friends. It's all right. But that was another takeaway that I got from K2, and then the rest of it was just like being in the trenches from 03 to 08. I had run High Cascade. I used to do all the bookkeeping, do all the financial planning, banking relationships. Like it was running a business. So
what was like the K2 change? I mean, where was K2 at the time? Was that like before that change happened? Was that like robot food? Was that had Afterbang come out? Was it kind of like,
yeah?
And then how did they transition? Like, how does that translate to maybe someone in snowboarding? What did that look like?
Well, okay. So the year that I got there, that was right when they had moved all their manufacturing to China and not doing it. They were doing it on Vashon Island,
okay.
Yeah. And I had just heard all the dudes were leaving Standard Films and starting this thing called Robot Food. And I didn't know anything about it. It was like fall of 01, I guess, when I got that job. I was like, holy shit, what are these guys doing? That's crazy. These guys are doing that. And then you see...
Oh, because at the time that was...
nobody knew what Robot Food was. It was just an idea.
Okay.
But it was like, all right, it's UC Oxenden and... Travis Parker and Louis Fountain and Bobby Meeks and all those dudes. And so you're like, all right, well, those are kind of the key dudes that were filming with Standard, at least, Travis and UC Bobby, those guys. So it's like, all right, that's rad. That's happening. That was on like the micro brand level, like the Robert Markovich change, like that was at the big level. Like the big level is that they had skiing and inline skates and like big, so it didn't really well, I guess it didn't really, I was gonna say it didn't really change the brand, but what they were moving towards was like a unified logo and stuff, and all these things that now K2 has. If you look at their logo, it's like a triangle, and underneath the triangle it says skis or snowboards or I don't know, it must say skate or something. I'm not sure what it says for skate, or inline rollerblades. I don't know.
Yeah.
I love Blue's take on it because you have to have some level of organization to run a business successfully, but it's snowboarding. And, there's a certain level of authenticity where, you look at, there's been companies that have based a huge part of their marketing just on not being corporate. And you don't want to, embody those corporate elements so much. So it's got to be kind of a fine line to tread, what is beneficial, something that I can use. And then hold on, did I just make a decision that was anti-snowboarding, but more focused on the bottom line? That's, is this cliche? Are we having good symmetry? All the different corporate cliche sort of thing. So I find that to be just a really interesting path. And I wonder, just what gave Blue the headspace or the awareness to realize that, he was soaking up and then transfer that knowledge to you too. Like, hey man, soak this up, get what you can here because we're going on to do bigger things.
I don't know. I think, he obviously had that idea before he started there. So when you're at a place like that and you got bigger plans, you can absorb an awful lot more, right? Mm-hmm. If you know where you're going. And Blue's if you guys talk to Blue or know him, like really an intentional, intelligent guy. So I'm sure he was stewing on this and had that plan, for a while. Because I think if I'm getting the timing right. When he left, I mean, he left and started Capita, like he made it happen. So it was definitely intentional,
It was brewing, and like what was spilling over kind of landed in your lap a little bit. Just from an idea standpoint, for him saying, like, hey, soak this up.
Yeah, absolutely. No, totally. I mean, and that's right. I hadn't even thought of that until you just said that, him saying that, I probably did absorb a lot more than I otherwise would have. And you know what? Him saying that also made me realize, well, maybe this is just a temporary stop. And if there are little frustrations in the job, that's okay. Any job's going to have frustrations, right? But that's okay. I'm here to learn and contribute what they'll allow me to contribute. And when I worked at K2, if I didn't get my way in some sort of marketing meeting or some initiative I was trying to push, I would walk away from that and just say, well, I didn't do a good enough job explaining my position, which I think is true. Otherwise, what are you going to do? Walk away and say, oh, those guys are all fucked. They're all stupid. Like,
right.
That's a horrible way to live life. And it's not really looking in the mirror saying, how can I do it better next time? And it helps you cope.
I mean, was there a lot of that? Like, you'd walk into a meeting and they were like, no, and he was like so hyped on an idea that they're just like, I don't think we're going to go in that direction.
With my boss, Haley Martin, who's the director of marketing for Scout Let Go, she was actually pretty malleable and in a good way. She acted like the mom that was directing all of us, when I say us, the team and myself. But then when people would have really solid points, she would consider them and go to bat for us. Like one example was, Travis Parker was the creative genius, right? So I'm going to attribute this to Travis, although, Bobby Meeks probably had a hand in this too. They had this idea of like, all right, you know what? We all work and ride for this company that makes rollerblades. And so everywhere you'd go, they're like, you work for a rollerblade company. So they thought, here's how you battle this. We're going to get a shot of the whole team on rollerblades, and then the ad slogan's going to be, you can't hide from the truth. Like, kind of poking fun at yourself, right?
Yes.
Right. I love that idea. That's great.
It was sick. So we came back from Mount Baker one time. We were in Bellingham, and I ran out to the sporting goods store and bought 8 pairs of rollerblades.
K2 rollerblades or just
no? Well, okay. So that's part of the next part of the story.
Okay.
So I buy all these. I think they probably were Rollerblade brand or some other brand. Throw them on all these guys, and we had I think it was Kevin Zacher was our photographer at the time. We go down and do this shoot. All right, they're all rollerblading around, having fun. We get them all lined up and get the shot, and Travis Parker jumps in the air and does like a little back scratcher, and that's our ad, 2-page spread. It's the whole team, can't hide from the truth. And our boss went to bat for that. Like you know what she did? She didn't even ask permission. She's like, I know this is going to ruffle some feathers here, but we're doing it. So Haley Martin, props to you. And then that thing came out. And the first thing I heard was those weren't even K2 inline skates. So that was a problem, right? And the older I get, the more I can see why we've ruffled some serious feathers, I was like 25 at the time. We were just thinking, this is rad. Yeah. And then there's the inline skate team manager, and he still works there, and I actually really like the guy. I'm not going to name his name now, but he came to my desk one day, and he goes, yo, I got this dude so-and-so on my skate team who's here in the office. He's looking for Travis Parker. Where's Travis?
No way.
I'm like, dude, Travis does not just hang out here in the office.
Right.
He's like, this kid's from the streets. He'll beat Travis's ass. Like, it was crazy.
Are you?
It was.
They were that upset. They were like,
the skate team was that upset, and I don't know. I love that story because it's just like, really. I mean, we're having fun,
right? I guess I can see if someone were to rollerblade, if rollerblading was as important to someone as snowboarding or skateboarding is, me, it must be really tough to be a rollerblader. Skateboarding is cool, especially now. Skateboarding is cool. That's Nike sponsors skateboarding. it's a good way to be like, oh, he's edgy or she's edgy. That's a cool person. They're in this like subculture that influences so much. Whereas rollerblading, I don't think has that impact. And to try to tell people outside of rollerblading about rollerblading, they're probably like real put off by it. So I could see them being maybe a little defensive, like maybe not to that extent, but a little bit like, oh, like this is something I love and care about. You know, obviously you're making fun of it, and that's not cool.
Yeah, and that's it. So that guy's team guy was probably, I don't know, 17 or 20 years old, young, and pissed, and I'm going to beat somebody's ass, and whatever. I get it. You know, as I get older, I have more perspective on it. Like, but I'm still glad we did it. I mean, it was awesome. I still have the T-shirt that we did with it, and like, that was a proud moment. So. Yay, K2. I still feel like those guys are family. I was just in Japan last year in November and went by the Japanese K2 offices, and they welcomed me like I was family still, you know, because I'm still the old guy that runs it. Anyways, they're good. I really like K2.
Yeah, and to your point, don't want to sound like we're bashing any company by any means, but K2 has been a hugely innovative company in snowboarding, and kudos to them for doing it under what would be traditionally like a more corporate structure, right? I mean, I had K2 Fat Bob as a kid, and K2 had some of the most progressive low back bindings. They were one of the first ones on the scene with a decent low back, and they also did tons of innovative stuff. I had a board from them, which I unfortunately broke like before I even wrote it, that had some sort of piezoelectric dampening stuff in it that was like, you know, supposed to be super amazing. I never actually got to ride it, unfortunately.
always the gimmick there. I mean, that's an engineering company, man. They had all sorts of crazy stuff. And let's not forget, they had Sean Farmer and Nick Dorada. So.
And clickers.
And clickers.
Yeah, step-ins, dude.
Yeah, totally.
So the rollerblading theme kind of goes along with a question. We threw up a note on Facebook a little while back saying that we'd be talking with you. And Blake Adam asked, will inline skating ever make a comeback? If so, will you accommodate the future fruit bitters at your camp?
I don't know if it's ever going to make a comeback. But... dude, people, like, there are campers that show up with rollerblades, and, they rollerblade, you know? I mean, like, who are we to tell a 10-year-old kid that's lame? That's stupid. Like, really? You're going to tell that to a little kid? I mean, I think you're the one with problems if you're destroying some little kid's, experience. So I heard about, gosh, I forget what skate company it was. And Jamie Weller will kill me for not remembering, but
skateboard company, or
I think skateboard company or like skate park company. They'd go around and like do like a swap out, right? See a kid on a scooter or rollerblades, and be like, all right, if you give me your scooter right now or your rollerblades right now, we'll give you this full setup, but you have to give it to me right now. And I think that's a rad way to do it. It's like, hey, check this out. We skateboard over here, and we'd love to have you come try it. Check it out. If you are interested, you know, give us what you're on now, and you can skate. I mean, that's like, to me, that's a more inviting way of doing it, you know. So, like Windells or High Cascade ever going to have a rollerblade camp? Never. That is ever. That's not our DNA. Are we going to have a scooter camp? No. Are kids going to show up for snowboard camp or ski camp and maybe have a scooter or rollerblades? Yeah, you know, and people joke about it, make fun of it, but it's typically the younger kids, and
I'm
there's
seeing
definitely a lot of like skiers. To me, like I don't expect people to follow a certain thing, but like I see skiers that skateboard that are there's some skiers that skate that are really good skaters, like way better than I am. But to me, if I was a skier, I probably would rollerblade more, just because like. Seems like it would be, I don't know, more in line with like, or like, if I was gonna hit a foam pit and try something that I might want to learn on skis or whatever. Yeah. But so that's that space that makes a lot of sense to me. Like have rollerblades and like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like skateboarding is still kind of a goofy thing. You ever see skaters like every time I go to a skate park, I'm like, man, we look like some gypsies. Yeah. Like we look like so. I don't know. How cool can you be? Like
that's it. Step out of our little world, right?
Yeah.
Our little world gets a little goofy sometimes, and it's like what's cool? I don't know. I mean, are we cool? I don't know. That's why I really like older professionals, like older pro snowboarders, older pro skaters, because they don't have like an attitude about it anymore. They don't think they're better than everybody in the rest of the world. Like, I feel like they look at it a little bit more like, I have a job and I'm good at it and I get paid, like whatever, they've got that confidence there. But when they're out at the grocery store, they're not acting like cooler than the grandma that's picking up her produce. They're probably, by the time if you're a pro skater or snowboarder and you're like nearing 30 years old, you're probably looking at the world a little bit differently. And I enjoy hanging out with them. The first people I saw like that were like, Jeremy Jones and UC Oxenden. They'd come to camp and they were as older folk and they were just normal people. I'm like, man, it's refreshing hanging around with them as opposed to a 20-year-old that's, everybody's telling them they're the shit and their vision of the world is a little skewed. But you get over to get a little more perspective. Where does snowboarding and skateboarding fit in the world, And when you're 20, it's the world. When you're 30, it's still a big part of your world, but you realize there's more to it than what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I always try to think about that, like, like where I'm from, skateboarding and snowboarding or even like surfing or whatever is not part of the community whatsoever. It's like, I would say it was especially frowned upon when I was younger. Like that meant you were a criminal and you were like going nowhere in life and you're, like seriously, these are things people like said to me. So I get that perspective of like, this doesn't mean that much to a lot of people. And I think it's like, sometimes it's like frustrating, but also it's like humbling, a little bit like this is how.
Well, in our bubble, it means everything.
It means,
right?
yeah, it means the world.
It's just, you got to step out of your bubble and check yourself.
I like to have that, like to be able to step out and be like, even if you're the best at it, it's like, so what, it doesn't make you anything more than that.
And aren't those the people that, I don't know, those are the people I'm attracted to, are the ones that are so good at something, but they're not cocky about it. They just are who they are, and that makes me like them even more. So.
Yeah.
But your note about like, we're all criminals, we're all idiots. Like, as I've I graduated from college. I'm getting my MBA right now. I've always enjoyed learning, and I was always considered a smart kid. And so when I started snowboarding, I did realize the world looks at me differently. And I always kind of found it interesting to, I guess, shake up somebody's stereotype about who I am and who my friends are. Mm-hmm. And that's through intelligence. Be unexpected, don't be the stereotype that they want you to be or expect you to be. And, I've enjoyed that part in life. Like right now I'm going to get my MBA and I'm in class with all these guys from Intel and Boeing and Nike, all these and bankers, CFOs of banks and stuff. And I'm the one that doesn't necessarily fit there. And I think they all had certain expectations of me as they've gotten to know me over the last year. I think they see there's a lot more to me and a lot more to our organization and a lot more to our world of people.
You're doing physical classes?
Yeah, we do a classroom day once a week, alternating Fridays and Saturdays. So we are sitting together. Yeah, I like that aspect of it.
Yeah. That's powerful. My wife's doing her MBA online right now, and it's so challenging with some of the group projects where there's no verbal interaction, never mind face-to-face interaction. It's all documented through their, I guess, learning management system. So the professor or coach or whatever you want to call them sees all of the interaction, who's doing the work, who's not. And there's every group project, there's 2 or 3 people that do little to nothing or minimum or less. And then that work gets dumped on the other folks. Mm-hmm. And without that accountability of even knowing these other people, you're just like screwing somebody else.
That's like life.
It is. I mean, right. And that's a big test, though. I mean, that's getting through the programs like that. I mean, that's what my dad always say. Going to college is just a sign to the world that you can follow through with something, And because there's negotiating all that stuff that is real world. And man, Nate, I couldn't do what your wife is doing. I think that would be really tough, I'm doing this because I need that interaction outside of our world here because I'm at the top running this company here where I've got lots of really cool people that work here that are creative, that are in touch with what's happening. What I don't have is a lot of people that are really great at business and strategy. And I need that as motivation to motivate me to learn that kind of stuff. So, that's why I'm doing it.
It's kind of what you've done throughout your career. You dip your toe into one world and you take something out of it, and you're doing it again. You get out of your comfort zone, right? That's where you learn stuff.
That is true, and put maybe a little more on your plate than you think you can handle, because you usually can handle it, right? And then when I'm in the middle of it, it's like, I can't wait for this to be over. I can't wait. What did I get myself into? Yeah.
So when do you get to snowboard?
That's a solid, fair question.
Especially during the summer, because, do you have time in the summer? That's
Yeah. So snowboarding I've done much less of that as I've, A, lived in Portland, and B, had kids. I have a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old. And so we go up a couple times a year as a family, try to get them on snow. And it's so highly frustrating. It's so, especially here, you drive 2 hours to the hill, and then maybe they just want to throw snowballs that day. And what are you going to be, the over-aggressive parent and try to get them? Damn it, we're doing this. We're having fun, guys.
And you're going to like it.
Yeah, man. So all of that is, it's tough. And because I've snowboarded so long, I kind of also save it for a little more that's a good day. It's not raining at the hill. When I was 15, hell yeah, it's raining. I'll go ride. Mm-hmm. But so that's a good question. And in the summer, as AJ was just alluding to, I'm up on hill all the time for different meetings. It's meetings. And then I'll try to tag, an hour or two of snowboarding on at the end of that, and not look at my cell phone and just try to have fun. I don't know. I envy people who can be in this world and still carve out time to make it just be fun and not about business, because I'm thinking about this, 10, 12 hours a day. So then how do you shut that off and just have fun? And I guess it's when I go riding with my old buddies, and just keep it under 360s,
I'm all about the low impact.
Yeah.
I don't even feel like I'm that old, but I'm not really trying to do too many crazy things on a snowboard,
You just cruise, complain about arthritis and stuff.
Yeah.
But what do you do, Nate? You're, I wouldn't say in the mecca of snowboarding, but from what I heard, you're kind of close to a hill. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm walking distance from Ski Liberty in southern Pennsylvania, just near Gettysburg. So I get up early and go over. I don't want to give away all my secrets, but I guess I will here. I go over an hour to an hour and a half before it opens to an undisclosed lift. You can figure it out of the 6 or 7 lifts on the mountain. And if you're good enough friends with the guys there, you can get on kind of under the guise of, we have ski patrollers on the mountain. And I do it on the days that it's good. So if it snows 4 to 6 inches here, that's a powder day in southern Pennsylvania. And you better be over there first one. And you can track out the better part of the mountain before it even opens. So sorry to everyone who shows up on time and pays for a ticket and all that stuff. But that's what I do. And then we go over to Seven Springs, near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Is only about 2.5 hours away, and it is just world-class park and pipe, and it's a really fun mountain to ride.
I think your proximity to it is key,
Yeah.
Where I grew up on Donner Summit, it was, literally 8 minutes from my house to Boreal, so wow. I could show up. If it sucks, all right, I go home. No time loss, right? When I went to college at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, we'd surf all the time because we're close to it. Now it's, I don't know, I want to get where you're at, Nate. I want to, I like Portland as a city, but I definitely want to move back to the mountains. I want to be immersed in that, because then you can walk across the street and go do it. I love that. I want my kids to experience that too. I used to build jumps in my backyard. I want my kids to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, you touched on something that I'm infatuated with, and I've talked about this with several other podcast guests, based on on where they live, there's this idea that my buddy Paul and I have of doing the trifecta and being able to do that every day, be able to surf, skate, and snowboard every day. And we did it 2 years ago, but it was a hell of a long day because we're like roughly 4 hours from the beach, 3.5 if you only take one pit stop. And it's just not real conducive to doing all three. But where is the ideal place to live to be able to do all three comfortably, within a day? And it's not that you have to do them all within a day, but just having that access to be able to go look at the beach and see what the surf's doing. Be like, no, I'm going to go to the mountain or I'm going to go skate, and be able to make those decisions based on what's going on versus, well, it's a 4-hour drive to the beach. It better be good. Surfline better not be lying to me.
Huh. I'm going to take a stab and say Port Angeles, Washington.
I'm writing that down.
Everybody that lives there for blowing that up. But that is like, right? I mean, that's like on Strait of Juan de Fuca. I know there's some secret surf spots there. And then I guess there's some tiny little ski area right outside of the town also.
Oh.
Like that place, my wife's best friend moved up there, and she sounds like she works for the tourist department up there. I mean, she's like, tried so hard to get us to move up to Port Angeles, but It sounds badass, That or what else comes to mind, like Southern California,
Yeah, it's still
2 hours to Bear. I don't know.
And if there's traffic, forget about it.
I know.
LA traffic, I tell you. Off the top of my head, the one that I can think of is Auckland, New Zealand, because there's an indoor slope a half hour away from downtown, and there's beaches.
You lost me at indoor slope.
Okay.
Wait. It's not like Liberty University. It's real snow?
You could snowboard.
Okay, but it's real snow. It's like a dome.
Okay, real snow.
Okay, never mind. I'm in. I'm back in.
You could ride during the summer, too. So you could surf in the summer. You could definitely skate. There's tons of skate parks there, and then you could snowboard. And they're open till like 1 a.m. on the weekends. So you can do that last.
Right. Auckland's going to be blown up now.
Maybe, but not. I don't know. I mean, if they ever build the one in New York, the Meadowlands next to Giant Stadium, you could surf in Long Beach, or forget where you can surf in New York. It had like a Quicksilver contest.
Juneau, Alaska?
Alaska, you could do it.
Yeah, and Canada.
The East Coast of Canada.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
To kind of shift gears here a little bit, where does flying planes fit into this whole picture?
Flying planes. So my grandpa was an Air Force pilot in World War II, and he'd take me out to the Naval Air Base and buy me a hot dog and we'd watch airplanes. And I loved airplanes. And then I grew up in the 80s, and like Top Gun came out, and Maverick and Goose and F-14s and all that. So I was like, yeah, this is what I want. That's what I wanted. That was my love before snowboarding. And then they were like, oh, your eyesight's bad. And so I couldn't do it, or didn't think I could. So anyways, as I got older, I was like, man, I gotta fly airplanes. And I'd done a couple intro flights, and that was my new passion. Like I haven't flown in a couple of years. I'm not current, but I still, I read those magazines all the time, watch those YouTube videos, and listen to, I was telling AJ, I listened to Airline Pilot Guy. It's just a podcast about dudes talking about flying airplanes. These guys fly like 777s and stuff like that. But flying is fucking awesome. I mean, you see the world from such a different perspective, and I don't know why. An airplane flies over, I can't not look at it. I don't know. It's like, I think that's like one of my biggest passions in life. That's it. Like I've got to get there someday to get back flying. I mean, it costs so much money, and time. So
I'm always bummed on just about any flight when you get on as a passenger and it's like every window's shut down. They're doing that now to save on the solar costs from heating the plane up, right? When you're on the runway, it's like shut the blind. But then you get up in the air and you kind of open the blind and you see that it's bothering somebody near you. I'm just like a little kid, like looking at the earth, like, whoa, this is a perspective that only in the past, I don't know how long have planes been around, a few generations, has this been an option for humans? And it's so fucking cool. And most people just want this thing to be closed, and they're like over it.
Yeah, I can't relate to that either. I mean, my neck hurts at the end of a commercial flight because I'm looking out the window so much, I mean, I'm there with you. I mean, like you say, I don't know, that perspective of the world is so cool. I think it shrinks it and makes, I don't know, it helps me understand the world a little better. And then, but the cool thing about flying too, so you got all that, and then there's the technical aspects of it, right? Like all the, charting, navigating, and then there's like the physical coordination of like, you've got, rudder that you're controlling with your feet, and then you've got your yoke, which is controlling pitch and roll, and then you've got a throttle, that's controlling, your ultimately lift. Are you going up or going down? So there's just so much to it. And I'm not instrument rated, but I can't wait to do that, to fly through the clouds, because that's like ultimate, like precision. You got to be precise. And
have you ever had anything sketchy happen while you're flying?
Actually, yeah. So I took my pregnant wife and my, at the time, 2-year-old daughter down to California we just do like this camping thing in the Delta area of Sacramento. So we fly down and do our family vacation. And I go to like, all right, Dad dropped us off at the airport. See you, Dad. And go down the runway and start climbing out. And I'm like, shit, this thing doesn't feel like we're climbing right. And I'm like, what is wrong? And so in an airplane, you have 2 sets of magnetos, like there's like firing the spark plug. So it's redundancy and it's for better fuel burn. And I was like, oh shit, I took off with 1 set of mags on, because you can put it on both off, which means your engine isn't running, or you have 1 set or both sets.
So it's just a switch basically that you throw.
It's like literally like the key switch in your car. I'm like, oh shit, okay, that was it. So I switch it over to 2 mags, and I thought the airplane was just gonna like, well, bam, like we're really climbing now, and it didn't react the way I thought it was going to. And I'd only flown this particular plane a couple times, and I was like, babe, don't freak out. We're gonna have to go back and land, just a precautionary landing. And I felt so bad for her, and luckily her dad was a pilot too, so she kind of got it, but it freaked us out. And then I, got a mechanic out there to look at it. We stayed an extra night, and, my dad stayed with us to just make sure we were all good before we go home. And it turned out it was just a very underpowered airplane. We were taking off on a warm day in Lodi, California, and my plane was, we were at, max gross. I was legal, like in terms of weight, but it's just a hot day and had a lot of people, and it was an underpowered airplane. So It's like, I can look back and go, man, that was so stupid of me. Or this is the way I prefer to look at it. I did the cautious thing,
Right.
If something's wrong, you know what? It's better to feel like an idiot on the ground than to feel like an idiot in that last 100 feet before you kill yourself,
For sure.
How'd your wife feel about it? What was
She got back in the plane and flew back to Oregon with me.
Okay.
So it was, it all worked out, but I'm hoping that's why I'm not going to kill myself flying, because I read all those NTSB crash reports, and, you see where people went wrong. And a lot of times you'll read those reports and it's like, oh, the guy knew there was a foul plug, or he knew that there was something wrong, but they thought they could make it anyways, or they thought there was something wrong, landed, checked it, and there was nothing wrong, so they kept going. And then it leads to the, their death. And so it's good to learn from other people, right?
Yeah. What did you think about the British Airways flight where people were grabbing their hand luggage?
I didn't even hear about that.
Oh, so there was a British Airways flight in Vegas, like the plane caught on fire, and people were like grabbing their hand luggage to like, and not getting, they were like taking time to get there.
Oh, and they're like, no, this thing's on fire.
Yeah, it's on fire, and they're like, wait, I need to grab my whatever.
Yeah.
Got to get my iPad.
Huh?
Got to get my iPad.
You get my iPad.
So what about the show Airplane Repo? Do you watch that ever? That's kind of like, I don't watch very much stuff on TV, but I watch it.
Dude, I'm trying. I don't know if I read about it or if I've seen just one episode. I don't have cable. I haven't seen that one. I'm guessing the premise is people didn't pay on their plane and a dude has to go steal an airplane. Is that right?
That's exactly it. And they're filming the whole thing. And it feels like it's kind of staged to me, because there's always, just a certain level of interaction, and they usually get away with it, but there's usually something majorly, potentially sketchy wrong with the plane. They do these preliminary inspections before takeoff. And I don't know. I don't have any background to know if it's a legit inspection or not, or yeah, it's an interesting show. I think it might be right up your alley.
It may be up my alley for like 2 episodes until I realize what the formula is, and then I lose interest in it. But
I think what catches a lot of people are the large commissions these guys get. You know, they're doing some of these private jets, and it's a multi-million-dollar jet, and they'll get like a 5 to 10% commission. You know, they'll be walking away like, I just spent 2 days, but I got $400K or whatever.
Funny how that works. You get a small percentage of a really big number, and I think you can make a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
A Wall Street, right?
Yeah.
No, that'd be crazy though. I don't know. I now I'm gonna have to go search that out. Maybe it's on YouTube or Netflix or something.
I'm sure it has to be. Like it's not something that I'm looking for, and I don't watch a lot of TV, but there's usually when I'm traveling for work or something on the road in the hotel and it's on, I'm like, oh, okay, this is the thing to watch out of the 6 or 7 channels that the hotel has.
I will seek that one out simply because it has flying and the thrill of stealing something.
2 of my loves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, did you read about me stealing stuff on the internet? I love stealing stuff.
What?
Just kidding. That was not on there.
Okay.
2 of my passions.
But I did read about you briefly working at Central Coast Surfboard Shop. What, retail wasn't good enough for you? It was just like in and out 1 year?
I did that for maybe, I don't know, it was like a year or 2 during my last couple of years of college in San Luis Obispo. And I worked in the store there, and that was awesome. I mean, that actually helped me get my job at K2 to understand that piece of the puzzle, right? And CCS down there, their storefront, I mean, it was an immaculate shop. I mean, it's beautiful. You know, every morning we're out there like hosing down the sidewalks and washing windows and just making sure everything's merchandised properly. That was an awesome shop. I learned a lot there. And, you know, because we're down in Central California, I was their token snowboard guy. So I was like, you know, in charge of all the snowboard stuff back there and merchandising it and stuff. So
because you worked at a surf shop and you have such a good snowboard background, do you think it's kooky that I put surf wax on my snowboard, on the top of my snowboard for grip, for traction?
Oh, that's a solid question. Kooky, no. Kooky, that's actually pretty rad. Does it work? I guess if it works, great. If it doesn't work, maybe it's kooky.
Right. I think it's great. The only thing I could say is it's messy, which I'm fine with. Like, I don't care if it's messy, but I could see some people being not down. But I love it. I think it's rad. And like every time I put it on, I'm like, still, dude. Like, I have a surfing background, so I kind of like.
Yeah, I think that would be rad if that, like I say, if that works.
Yeah.
I like that idea. I don't know. I mean, it's that or crab grab, right? Something like that.
Pretty much.
So, what brand and what temperature rating are you using, AJ?
I don't know. Well, Sex Wax. That's just like what I got, and I like the name, and like, it was. I think I asked for really cold. I must have asked for really cold wax, but really cold wax would be like 40 degrees or something, maybe like water temperature.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm putting this on my snowboard. Like, I got it from a surf shop. I'm like, okay. Like, what do you mean, the bottom? Like, no. Like, on top, there's grabs and one-footed stuff. Okay. Like, they obviously didn't get it.
It's a whole new market for them, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I made fun of my friend because he had it. And I was like, and he has long blonde hair. And I'm like, dude, you got the surf wax on, man? Like, dude. And then I tried it. I'm like, this works really well.
I think you've just planted the seed for the next big trend at camp next year.
Seriously. Well, actually, it's funny you're talking about that because we were at Windells earlier this summer, and the guy that founded Sticky Bumps came through with his daughter, and they own Wend Wax. And like we were talking about, like kind of creative stuff like that. Like, how do you? I mean, because Wend is, you know, they're getting into skiing and snowboard and stuff, but they've got that surf background, and he's like a crazy, you know, he's a wax chemist.
Yeah.
Like, he's really, maybe, you should talk to the dudes that, I mean, Sticky Bumps, is that as cool sounding as Sex Wax? I mean, it's still pretty cool. So I like it.
I mean, you know.
It sounds more functional.
It's not as functional?
No, it sounds more functional.
Oh, it sounds more functional.
Yeah, true. Sticky Bumps.
Sticky Bumps. I guess you don't really want Sticky Bumps when you're having Sex Wax. Like, that sounds like...
Yeah, the two definitely don't mix.
Huh?
The two definitely don't mix.
Yeah, they don't mix, so you might have to, go down to the clinic and checked out real quick. But I just use that because that's what they had at the surf shop, but sticky bumps, that'd be rad. I'd love to try out other waxes, is what I'm saying. R&D some surf wax for snowboarding.
Let's see what they got.
Let's get it going.
Yeah.
Making things happen.
Those guys are awesome. Like, they're authentic. They're legit. Yeah. They're so legit.
I've definitely used Wend Wax for my snowboard.
Did you go faster?
Probably went faster.
Faster than no wax, for sure.
Faster than no wax. That was the alternative. Was no wax or Wend Wax. And I threw some Wend Wax and just took off.
So here's a solid question, Nate. Are you going to come out next summer and snowboard and skate, or what?
I'm down. I'm definitely down. Let's do it.
Actually, AJ, are you coming back next summer? We don't know.
I would like to come back.
Yeah, AJ, Kevin and I collaborated before this. This is actually your review. So,
oh, is it?
Do you want to get started with this, Nate, or shall I tear into the list? Hey, have you guys on this show ever talked about what AJ does for intro at Windells? Like intro night?
No.
Dude, so... Is that okay? I talk about this?
Go for it. Yeah.
I've seen it like twice, man. And it's so all the campers show up first day, and I mean, AJ turns into like a different person. You get the music and a mic going and like some hip hop beats in the background, and he's like a DJ on the mic. And the first one I saw, he was up there like dancing around crazy. I don't know if your shirt was off or not. I'm picturing him with his shirt off, and he's like pouring Gatorade over his head, and then like taking the bottles and throwing it out at the campers. And he just gets so nuts and gets those kids so fired up, and it's the best intro presentation I've ever seen.
Thank you.
What AJ does, and it's mind blowing. So I don't know if that comes across in this podcast, but AJ's insane-o. So yeah,
I've seen that guy before, and the funny thing is, it's usually in sort of like a party environment, and everybody assumes that that guy's got to be so wasted. People that don't know him, but that's just pure AJ energy. There's no alcohol or drugs or anything fueling any of that. That's just like pure authentic AJ in the raw.
And I have so much. Of course, I knew he was not wasted at camp doing that. But it's funny you bring that up because I love that quality in a person, right? Because usually I only cut loose after I've had a couple drinks like that, and I think it's so cool that it's just who you are, that you can just be that way, and you don't have to be inebriated. I mean, that was the first time I met or really hung out with Jesse Burtner. I was in Canada at a contest years and years ago, and we rode for the same company. And I walk out of the hotel room, and I was hanging out with my team manager. I'm like, dude, that guy was so wasted in there, man. And he's like, Jesse? Yeah, Jesse doesn't drink. Like, that was before Jesse ever had a beer, And anyways, I'm attracted to personalities like yours and Jesse's that are just, infectious and really fun, and it's not as a result of something you've ingested. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's easy, I think. Like, not to I don't know. But yeah, thanks for saying all that. Because that's, for me, that doing the intro and the outros or the orientation, I call it turn-upitation. Doing that is so fun for me. I love music, but I'm not really a musician. And I love shows. I love going to shows. I just went to music festivals last weekend, and there's a lot of dance music. And club drugs are huge in dance music. I saw so many people on drugs, and but for me, it's enough, the music and the visuals and the people I'm dancing, that's so much for me that I'm blown away by it. And I don't need anything else. I don't want anything else. I want to enjoy that, so for me, it's getting to do that a little bit at camp. And I'm super lucky I get to do that. The last disorientation, that was incredible. We had party stuff. We had cake. I had a cake thrown in my face. I played Steve Aoki's Cake Face or whatever, where because he always throws out a big birthday cake, and he has a raft he rides on. It's crazy. And to me, that's I just love having fun and having energy, and that's I get to do that at camp is so rad. So I appreciate that you enjoy it as well.
Yeah. Well, and it's cool that you say that's no big deal. It just comes naturally to you.
Yeah.
So it's just different strokes, different folks, different. I mean,
Yeah.
talent, and you got that, and I just respect it.
So it sounds like you passed your review, AJ. Good job.
I hope they have a job next summer.
Yeah.
Well, so that's the other thing I wanted to bring up was like, Windells and High Cascade merged, and some people still, I think, aren't fully aware of that. Like sometimes they're like, "Oh, I didn't know," and then they don't understand when it happened. And by the way, I say it's brilliant that you guys did it on April Fool's Day because I didn't believe it. I was like, "No way, like that's a joke," and then everyone's like kind of laughing, and then it went on like, "Oh, it just like trolled people so hard. It trolled me at least."
Yeah.
But what there's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of like what might happen, what the changes from people that are campers, maybe work at camp, maybe want to go to camp, or just pay attention a lot to what goes on at camp. Like, what can we expect for maybe next summer and the next few years that you're willing to share?
Well, yeah, I mean, this combining of the two camps, I think, gives us a bit better financial platform to do what's right for each of the camps. The goal with this company is to ultimately have a collection of the most authentic camp brands.
Okay.
So that means we're going to be segmenting the camps out a little bit more, right? So High Cascade is, I guess, arguably the biggest, most successful snowboard camp that there is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Windells was always High Cascade's biggest competitor in the snowboard area only. I mean, Windells went into skiing back in the early 2000s, and that was a move that those of us who owned and ran High Cascade didn't do because that wasn't authentic to us. We were snowboarders, and it just didn't feel right. I mean, that goes back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier, Nate. Like those decisions you have to make running a business in this world where you're also extremely passionate about it. This isn't just a means to make a dollar, right? There's a lot more to it. So we chose to just stick with snowboarding. On the Windells side, Tim Windell was actually a really, really accomplished skier before he even started snowboarding.
Really?
And he still skis. Like, I went and met with him one time in Colorado, and he broke out. This was way before the merger, like in 2006. And he broke out skis. And I was like, whoa, what are you doing, man? But like, that was his instinct, So for Windells to get into skiing, that was an authentic move. Tim's really passionate about it, into it, and he never looked at it as like some goofy thing, right. And I don't think we did either. It just wasn't us. So in doing that, now that we have Windells and High Cascade together, we're this year for the first time, kids are going to be registering for snowboard camp through High Cascade. But guess what? Those guys, we're still going to have snowboarders down at Windells. I mean, at that campus. I mean, that campus is insane, right? Mm-hmm. It's an incredible place. And I think anytime somebody from High Cascade has gone down to check out Windells for the first time, I mean, their jaw kind of drops, Mm-hmm. It's an incredible place. So we're doing this from a branding and programming perspective. If you're a skateboard kid, do you want your counselor to be a skier or a snowboarder, or do you actually want your counselor to be a skateboarder? So at nighttime when you're in your house, guess what? You're watching skateboard videos. You're immersed in the culture. So that's what our overall goal is. Like, we don't have the big roadmap fully planned out. This year with Windells, that's the first step, is that, you still former Windells campers, historically come there for snowboarding. They're still going to get that same experience at Windells on that insane campus. And they're actually going to have access to anything that High Cascade has ever had up in government camp, much the way that it was operated this year.
Okay.
And that's the start of that transition. And it's, understandably tough for people who have come up through Windells as snowboarders and wave that flag. I mean, there's where you work, especially these camps, I think you have a lot of pride in your place and pride in the organization. And so, you know, I've said to all of our managers who are primarily snowboarders, man, if you're a snowboarder, we need you and we want you. I mean, this place needs these experienced, passionate people. And so I guess this kind of goes back to that, you know, that what did I learn at K2? Well, you have to do your very best. And then you have to accept that at the end of a transition like that, that's emotionally tough, that there are going to be some people who are just very upset by it. And if they love snowboarding and they still love Mount Hood and want to be a part of a place they can be extremely proud of, there's like not just a seat at the table, but we're inviting them and need them to be there. So I think that's probably the toughest part of this transition. And I understand that, but what does that actually do? I mean, in terms of like marketing and programming, it actually eliminating that overlap in those two brands allows us to put more money into snowboard marketing than Windells or High Cascade was doing before, more money into snowboard programming. And then on the ski side, it allows us to put more money at marketing those programs. And actually, I mean, we have an insane skate camp, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
And so it allows us to develop that out further as well. And, you know, at some point, I'm sure we're going to see the skate program break out on its own, you know, with, you know, Jamie Weller and make that extremely authentic. I mean, we don't want to be the Walmart of camps where we've got a little something of everything. You know, that's why I was saying we're never going to have rollerblade camp, scooter camp. That's not our passion. You know, that's
right.
And it doesn't fit into any of the cultures of the camps that we have. So, so that's kind of the breakdown there on that. So this will be the first winter where we're going to be registering people in that fashion. And so again, if somebody is like, you know, so brand loyal, it destroys them. I don't know how we address that, to be honest. We're always going to strive to give them the same experience they had, and hopefully an elevated one from last year. And that's on the High Cascade and Windells side, both. I mean, you're always trying to do better, right?
Right.
So at what point do you start to leave off of the High Cascade and Windells names and just move forward solely with We Are Camp? Or do you?
We're not. That's the point. I mean, We Are Camp is that's not meant to be any sort of public-facing brand. And that's what I mean. Like, so you have two options in a situation like this. You have the branded house, which is like Ford, right? I mean, they make trucks, they make small cars, they make all sorts of things. Mm-hmm. And then you've got like the House of Brands, which is more like the skate distribution model, you know, like Indy, that's trucks, you know what I mean? Spitfire wheels, it's segmented out, and that's what we're doing. So, you know, High Cascade's the snowboard brand, and then Windells, you know, it's going to take a little bit with Windells, but we're really focusing heavy on ski. We just hired Jason Ahrens, who's been a long-time Windells employee. He's been there like 8 years. He's our director of marketing, and he's like, you know, he's a judge for the X Games and do tours, all this stuff. Like, he's authentic. Like, he's legit. So he's really going to guide that there. And then we have another guy that's director of marketing for skateboarding, and we want people to feel they're in the right place, you know, that it's filled with people like them, you know. So, and the beautiful thing about Windells historically has been, like, if you got a friend who skis, guess what? You can still come to Windells. Like, if you're a snowboarder and your buddy skis, that's rad. And that's not disappearing. I mean, that's still like, there's on that Windells campus, there's skiers, there's going to be skiers and snowboarders and skateboarders, everybody there. And I think it's a totally different dynamic, and it's rad, you know? So
I was going to mention this earlier. Not only is it not disappearing, but it's becoming less of an identity thing, where I've twice now seen kids ski and snowboard in the same day. And, both of them better snowboarders than me. So you kind of, you just naturally grade yourself. They're like, whoa, that kid just did 360 on to something, whatever. And then you see him again like an hour later on skis. And you're like, wait a minute. Yeah. What's going on here? And then the same thing with skateboarding and rollerblading. I've been to the park and I've seen kids rollerblading around. I'm like, wow, there's a bunch of rollerbladers here. And then half hour later, they're skateboarding. And they're good at both. I mean, I don't know where to gauge it on the rollerblading scale or on the skiing scale, but they're obviously good. So there's this next generation doesn't have that same identity where that skateboard or that rollerblade is me. It's just I'm out here at the skate park and I'm going to do whatever I can to have fun on it.
That's right. And so that's kind of the future vision for the whole camp, is to have that place where all of these people doing these different things, they all coincide at the same place at times, but then they also have this very unique, deep experience in the culture of snowboarding, culture of skating, the culture of skiing. It's filled with those, credible, passionate people. And that's, I think that's the plus to, what the High Cascade model was, where it was just snowboarders. There was no opportunity to have that other mixing, which we're going to have now, So I really like that. And the other thing is, when you bring all these people together, there's also more money for facility improvements, so you can make a much better campus. You can make much better activities. You can fund things a lot better that benefit everybody. So, the more skiers and snowboarders you have there, better your skate park gets, and then that drives your skateboard business. And the other thing is, if you've got a kid that comes there for skateboarding, guess what? We've got the best ski camp in the world and the best snowboard camp in the world. And if they want to take a day to go try one of those things, they can do that. And they've got the right facility, the right people, the right equipment to do that, the right coaching. So
I'm totally sold. I'm going to be there next year. What's the best week for me to go historically?
The best week. That one's always very subjective because it usually has to do with people's travel schedule. So earlier in the summer, maybe you'll see a little bit more clouds, but there's more snow all around the place. Mm-hmm. You get to the end of summer, it's very rarely are you going to have clouds up on the hill, but the snow surrounding the parks has shrunk down a little bit. And this summer was a total aberration. I mean, nobody's ever seen it the way it was this summer, but that surrounding snow usually doesn't affect the quality of the parks. We're still in normal years running the 22-foot super pipe the entire summer. The big jumps are there, the rail lines the whole time. So, but it turns, I don't know. Maybe you could answer that, AJ. What's your take on that? It's tough to plan ahead for weather, because sometimes there can be bad weather later in the year. Unfortunately, this year we only had one bad weather day, and that was the second to last day for Windells, and that was the last day for High Cascade. But it was high winds; it wasn't even precipitation or anything, and no one, was going to see that coming. You couldn't have planned for that. But I would, sometimes I've been to Hood when it snowed in June. The beginning of June, and I wore a real jacket instead of a hoodie or a Hawaiian shirt or whatever. It's and that was super fun, and that was really, really rad to be able to see this covered mountain. But then I rode almost a closing day, which was September 1st last summer, and I still had a ton of fun, and it was sunnier, and like you said, there was a little bit less snow. I don't know. That's a tough one. I like to be there all summer, honestly. If I had to pick a week, it'd be tough. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really answer your question, Nate.
I guess I'll just get a one-way ticket in May and see how it goes.
You should. Yeah, just take it out for the summer. We could open up a Not Snowboarding podcast studio and just crank these out at Hood.
So as we kind of start to wind down here, I've got a question. I think I know how you're going to answer, but we'll see. If you had only the ability to do one of these things for the rest of your life, what would you pick? And it's fly, snowboard, or surf or skate?
For the rest of my life.
Rest of your life.
You can only do one.
Man. God. I mean, that's. I know you want the short answer.
No, not at all.
Dude, first of all, what do you think I'd answer? Because I honestly, I don't know, because they're different. Like, I've snowboarded my whole life, so I really love it. But then, like, when I started surfing, I fell in love with surfing. And by the way, that was still the time I was still trying to pretend I was a pro snowboarder. Like, so, but I got into it super heavy, you know, and so. Like, you've experienced these things, so definitely not skate. Like, I suck at skating, you know, I do. I hurt myself every single time. So, just to be clear, I should have said that at the onset. Yeah, but so not skating. I'm not good enough like to be in the flow and like really enjoy it like I do surfing or snowboarding. Really, probably snowboarding, because you know what? I did heli down in New Zealand, and that was insane. So there you go. That combines flying with amazing powder, and I mean, I just love the mountains, to be honest. So my dream is still to have like a rope tow in my backyard and like do like the Mike Bassage thing. I mean, trust me, I've cyber stalked the crap out of that guy from like Google Earth, you know, like, I mean, and my dad lives, you know, a couple miles from him. So I've definitely scoped it. And that guy,
he's awesome.
I have moments where I'm like, I need to do what he's doing. He's so inspirational.
Yeah.
So that's my answer, man.
That's cool. And I like how it combines two of them, you know, yeah, snowboard, but we're flying up to the top of this mountain.
Is that a cop-out? Which one did you think I'd say?
I thought you were going to say flying. I really did. And I'll tell you, historically, a lot of people that we've had on the podcast that say surf, and I that's where I'm at right now. I've only discovered surfing in the past 4 years or so, and it's such a different beast, and it's so different than what I thought it was, and it's just totally, I'm in love with it, right? And snowboarding was my first love, maybe skateboarding at the same time, but surfing, if you'd had to ask me which one right now, it would probably be surfing. But I thought you were going to say flying, you know, based on kind of the fact that you're still consuming, you know, the YouTube stuff and the magazines, and that's kind of the thing that's going on potentially in the back of your mind if you're daydreaming. I thought that's what you're going to say, but you kind of did. You did both, and you kept it true to snowboarding too, which is rad.
Well, and I mean, listen, like I said, I've snowboarded my whole life, so I could go and just do the act of surfing for the rest of my life, because that would be, you know, relatively new, and you know, it's still like really exciting. But it's the lifestyle surrounding snowboarding that I really like. I really, really love the mountains. That's the lifestyle. I always tell my friends, I'm going to go back to Truckee or Donner Summit, and that's where I'm going to die. And I'm going to have a place where I can just, you know, go in my backyard and walk out into the mountains. And I don't know, that's where I feel the best. You know, that's where I feel alive, and that's where I'm trying to get back to. So
I think I could have seen you say snowboarding, just because it seems like you love snowboarding so much. Even married a pro snowboarder.
I did.
And I actually have a photo of you two that I just want to bring up. Just, it's kind of interesting. I want to close this out, though.
Is that the one you texted me the other day, AJ?
That's the one I texted you, Nate. And we could probably throw this in the show notes.
Yeah, for sure.
If Kevin's okay with it. And let me just pull. There we go. There's that photo. And just.
I think, was that like a. Where did you find that, dude?
Kind of got the Billy Idol lip going there.
Is that from my wife?
I got my sources.
Dang, because I think that was like some party in government camp or something.
It was like the Burden party, right?
Yeah.
1990?
What?
Does that sound right?
No, that's maybe like 99. 98, maybe. We both like lived at the Sims house that summer.
Okay.
Yeah. That is hilarious. Yeah, so my wife is clearly a better looking person than I, and she's like, well, she looks a little ferocious there, but yeah, man, she's badass. Like, you know, when you snowboard, you'd have buddies who'd be like, I'd never date a snowboarder. I could never do that. I never thought it was that big a deal. I actually used to date a girl who didn't snowboard, and that was more annoying than like my wife she's such a good snowboarder. Like she is.
Well, yeah, I mean, she used to win like Triple Crowns and like Grand Prix.
She used to make a bunch of money when I started dating her, and we'd go on like trips with Sims, and like she and Jesse Burtner were hitting stuff that other dudes on the team were not hitting. Like,
wow.
Anyways,
what's your wife's name?
Kim Bohnsack. So she had a couple years there before her back surgeries and knee surgeries got her. But, she was like the first girl that DC signed like pro back in the day. And,
wow.
Like, she
have a ring?
She does have a DC ring. Yeah, so I broke it out for her like a couple months ago or something. So she's got the ring going again.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyways, that's funny. Thanks, Blast from the Past, man.
I just wanted to pull that up.
Nice one. I'm still curious how you got that.
Got my sources.
He texted it to me and it said circa 1990, and I immediately was doubtful because I have pictures from 1990 and they're all like film and you can kind of see the graininess and pixel.
Yeah.
I was like, it couldn't be 1990.
And I was 14 in 90, so I would have been
so I had the
underage drinking, which I did not do. Psych. It's been fun, you guys, and I want to say, like, another thing my dad taught me was like the talk format. I grew up listening to talk radio, driving on long drives with him, and even in college, I would like turn off the music and just listen to talk radio while I drive. And so to discover what you guys do is really, really cool, and I love that it's not just talking about the cool stuff of the day. I have listened to one of your podcasts. I think it was the Terrier one, and it's just rad where you guys take it. And I love it because it showcases that people who snowboard are so much more than just snowboarders. People used to say, you're a snowboarder. And I'd say, no, I'm a person who snowboards.
Right.
Big difference, right? Multidimensional.
Right.
So just really big props to you guys. And obviously I'm going to try to share this podcast with everybody that I know who snowboards, and I have before this, just because I don't know, it's a great way to fall asleep at night or long drives or whatever. And it's a new format, so I wish you guys the very best on that.
Thank you so much for chatting with us. And where do you want folks to find you on the internet? I mean, obviously High Cascade and Windells. Is there any personal like Instagram or anything you'd like people to check out?
I'm not. No, I have Instagram and Facebook, and there's nothing of note. I don't do anything, but I appreciate that opportunity. Yeah, just High Cascade and Windells, and yeah.
I'm jealous of that because I have like schizophrenia. I've got like Twitter accounts and Instagrams and it's too much. I would love to have like either just one. This is my social media thing, and one thing or none. None would be awesome too.
Yeah, I just get anxious. I found like when, like first it was MySpace, then Facebook. Like I get like anxious about it. Like, all right, are we taking this picture and doing this thing like so we can have a memory personally, or are we doing it so our friends will look and be like, that's so cool that Kim and Kevin went to Cabo, or yeah. I don't know. I think that was probably my downfall as a snowboarder too. Like I couldn't get into like the self-promotion so much. So I don't know. I get all anxious and that's why I don't have it. That's my short answer.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
Fair enough.
Kevin, thank you so much, man. I think we did it.
Thanks, Nate. Look forward to meeting you in person.
I'm going to be there next year.
Kevin, thank you. That was incredible. That was a great one.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks again for listening, and thanks for bookmarking and using the Amazon banner ad before shopping on Amazon. And thanks for all the positive iTunes reviews, specifically the recent reviews from iTunes users Boulder Smolder, a.k.a. Cody Nesbitt, Snowboard, and the Snowboard Techie. Those reviews really help more people find the podcast. Thanks again, and please keep them coming. Until next week, peace.
Thank you for listening to the Not Snowboarding podcast. To hear more episodes, go to www.notsnowboardingpodcast.com.